evening, everybody. How are you? Welcome to Memoirs, True Stories Unfiltered. Give yourselves a hand for being here. Thank you, thank you. So I am the host of Memoirs, True Stories Unfiltered. My name is Philip Awesome Aguilera. Yes, my middle name really is awesome. There is a memoir there, and maybe one day I will tell it. So let's see. I can't see as good as I used to, so I need to turn around. It's fine. Leave the red light. I love the red light district feel. I'm all about it. So, you don't. Oh, it's too late. So why does Memoirs exist? So Memoirs exist to give our community a place to come listen to each other's stories. And as Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, said, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. So that's what we're here to practice, our listening skills. So let's see, by raise of hands, do we have any first-timers here? All right, awesome. Let's give these people a hand. Woo! So I know what all you first-timers are thinking. You're all thinking, how can you get up here and tell a story, right? That's what you're thinking. What you need to do is email memoirs@gmail.com or just come talk to me. We'll set up some time and we'll get you up here on this stage whenever you feel the theme hits you in the soul. You can follow us at Facebook and the Gram at Memoirs COS, so just go to those places to find us. We also have a podcast that we release every month that is basically this show, but a little cleaned up, so you can pull out your phones right now and subscribe if you want to. Actually, that's a demand, so please pull out your phone. So in the front, there were some stickers that were for sale. So those stickers, part of the proceeds, go to CASA. And Danielle may come up in the break here and in the next one and tell us all about CASA and how we can help support these kids that are going through the foster care process. All right, so you see these papers right here? Right here? There's one on every table. I want somebody to pick up a pen and write about something that made them change, but it is anonymous. I don't want to know who you are. And then put it back there. There's a little basket. Put it back there, and we will read that in between our stories. So let's give a big hand to 3Es for letting us have this space here. Tara's been doing a great job out there trying to get us our drinks and our food. So again, make sure you grab a bite to eat and a drink because this helps support events like Memoirs and this beautiful venue that Eric, who is a speaker tonight, lets us graciously use. So please take care of your wait staff as they are excited to take care of you. And also vote for 3Es as Best Comedy Club at cindie.com. If you see those papers with the QR code, just put your phone on it, do a little quick vote, and let's get 3Es as the Best Comedy Club in the Springs. I'd like to thank my Memoirs team. First of all, Maritza, my wonderful wife. Yes, is the model wave. Samantha, who checked you all in out in the front, so thank you, Samantha. Andrew Hasley with Vehement Visuals and the Colorado Springs podcast, and way back there, that, let's see, long, beautiful, young lady, that's Mandy Penn of Mandy Penn Photography, and she's doing a photo booth back there. So in the break, get back there, take some pictures, get them texted to you, and that's fun. So I'd like to thank you, Colorado Springs. You guys are amazing. You know, I came here not having any friends, and now look at all these friends that I'm developing. And then I'd like to thank our courageous storytellers that are nervous, some of them, but courageous. That is what makes courage. So tonight's theme is That's What Made Me Change. First speaker will be Rudy Alumbaugh, and his story is Memoirs of a Gay Shah. And then Erin Angel will be the second storyteller, and the title of hers, I think, is What If I Can? And then Eric Phillips of 3Es is going to tell us his story, and his is To the Edge and Back. So now I'm going to share the anecdote that I wrote for this Memoirs for this month. So since our theme is change, or that's what made me change, when we humans are faced with the chaotic circumstances that life presents, our impulse is to stay safe by doing what we've always done. To change our course of action seems far riskier than to keep on keeping on. To change anything about our lives, even our choice of toothpaste, for some, has caused great anxiety. How we are convinced finally to change is by listening to stories of other people who risked and triumphed. Not some easy triumph either, but a hard-fought one that takes every ounce of the storyteller's intestinal fortitude. This is what it takes in real life, for example, to leave the dysfunctional relationship, move to a new city, or quit your job. That's just what it takes. Change requires a loss, and the prospect of loss is far more powerful than potential gain. It's difficult to imagine what a change will do to us. This is why we need stories so desperately. So thank you very much. And again, anonymous memoirs, please fill them out. And with that, I'm going to call Rudy Alumbaugh onto the stage for his story, Memoirs of a Gay Shah.
Holy crap. Short shit over here. Hello, hello. Thank you guys for having me here. I have to sit. I'm in pain. I was born and raised here. What changed me right off the bat, though, was my DUI, and we're gonna get there. I know. When does a positive thing come from a DUI? But hold on, 1 second. Need something? Oh, okay. So what had happened was, born and raised here in Colorado. Was raised in a religious home and went to a Christian school, did all the good Christian godly things here in Colorado Springs. And when I was, 12 or 13, when dial-up was a thing, I was caught having porn, of course, as teenagers do. And since, of course, we were dial-up, what was the smartest thing to do when you had porn back in those days? You got to print down the pictures because it takes 10 minutes for one fucking picture to load. So, about 5 months later, I had a little magazine, that made myself. I was very proud of myself at 13. And unfortunately, I went to school and forgot about it, left it on the bed, right there in plain view. My grandparents came home and saw it, and they were like, ooh, okay. So, long story short, I went to conversion therapy for 8 years. 8 years. Luckily, Colorado outlawed it. Thank God. Constantly being told you're going to hell, that you are going to burn and you're never going to amount to anything just because the fact that you love the same sex. And I had to lie, I had to cheat, I had to steal, basically, to get out of these therapies as much as I could. And so I dated women, dated girls, and they were all like, girl, we knew you were gay. Come on. I mean, please. It was really obvious, but I tried to hide it, And finally at 18, I said, fuck it. I'm coming out. So I came out gay, and I didn't just come out with a little bit of gay. I came out with a whole lot of gay. Whole lot. Basically, I called my mom and I said, hey, well, I was 18, by the way. Hey, so I'm kind of gay, and I'm engaged to a 38-year-old black man. So I came out a whole lot of gay. And for a household that's religious and somewhat racist, that was just the last straw, let's be honest. So I got disowned, and that same day they packed up a couple trash bags of my clothes and dropped me off at the adult homeless shelter. And going from a very conservative home where you're sheltered and not knowing anything of the world to a homeless shelter, it was devastating to me. So naturally, I took a bunch of pills. Let's see what happened. Nothing happened except me throwing up a whole lot. And thank God I survived. And I was only in that shelter for 2 to 3 months when I was taking a shower and was raped in the shelter. And so I said, well, it's safer to be on the streets. So I was on the streets for 2 years, homeless mentally for 10 years. And after my mom's suicide, she was a very depressed woman all her life, and she had been battling it from 8 years old. I saw her slit her wrists. Every time she got drunk, I would be the one to bring her back from 9 years old up. And just this one time, she didn't call me, so I couldn't bring her back. But ever since then, I drank a lot, did a lot of drugs. A lot of drugs. It was amazing. But, and I had pretty good self-control, but a lot of my friends did not. So I'm ashamed to say that I've led people down the wrong path, and they still are down that path. And so that's a bummer. But the thing that changed me, like I said, was my DUI. I didn't change until I was 30 years old. 30 years old. I finally changed because it was my mental state that was the problem and not my physical state of homelessness. That's the biggest thing that people don't understand. I worked at DHS. I've seen homeless. I've worked with homeless. I've started outreach programs. And people don't understand it's not the physical problem of homelessness. It's the mental stability. Mental stability of knowing you're never going to be good enough, that you're worthless, and you're just going to stay homeless forever. But I took that DUI, and I went to the counseling on all those mandatory classes and all that $20,000 down the drain. But that $20,000 was worth it, saved my life. That is finally, I forgave my family. I owned up to my own responsibilities, and I was able to build good coping mechanisms. And now I'm here. I'm here. I made it. I made it. Thank you. Now I have my own company. I have my own insurance company that does everything insurance, everything that you could ever need insurance. And I'm opening up I have my other company as well that is networking and getting local businesses to work together to keep our community strong. So, thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing that. So, Danielle, you are off the hook. You are off the hook because Jill is here. So, Jill, come on up. So, those stickers that we sell in the front, again, a part of the proceeds go to CASA, and Jill is going to let us know what CASA is all about, what they stand for, what their mission is, and then you'll know what you'll kind of be donating to whenever you buy one of those stickers. So, Jill, get on out here. Woo! Look like magic.
Use the stairs because I'm way shorter than Flip, so. Yeah, hi. Hi, how are you? How are you guys? Oh my gosh! This table's the best. What are you guys doing here? Just hanging out? Do you come every month? Oh, I love that. Perfect. Okay. Yeah, it's it's me. I can talk and you don't have to. We're so excited to have. Oh, sorry. Okay, is that better? I'm just so excited to be here. We just started working with Flip a few months ago. He's actually going to be teaching a self-defense jiu-jitsu class to our teens next week, next Tuesday. So, yeah. So we're really excited to have this partnership. And I was just really wanting to come in and talk a little bit about CASA. I know you know a little bit about us, but I brought fancy brochures. We just got these. This is the first event that's getting them, so you guys, make sure you pick one up. It has all of our information in here. CASA of the Pikes Peak region has been around for about 32 years now, and we've helped over 20,000 kids since then. And these are kids who come from situations that are not healthy for them due to abuse, which could be drug abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, a combination of them, of the abuse for the kids. And then we give them a CASA advocate, and these advocates go in to the courtroom, to the courtroom with these kids, and they advocate for them. They meet the kids, they meet their teachers, they meet their foster families, their social workers. If they're placed with kin, they meet with them, and their job is to get the kids into a safe and permanent loving home as fast as humanly possible. So with a CASA advocate, kids on average get 8 months less in foster care, which every day in foster care is not great. They're teenagers or they're young kids. There's so much going on in their lives, and they really need somebody who's looking out just for them. And because these people are volunteers, they're not getting paid to do this. They're coming in, and they're committing themselves to these kids for the duration of the case, which could be a couple of years long. So we know that these people really want to make a difference in their lives. And because they're making a difference, they're able to go home. The parents might go to they might have a drug problem, and the parents are going to go through all these different courses, and they may get returned to the families when it's safe again, because at the end of the day, every youth wants to be with their biological parents, regardless of what happened. So we might be able to help rehabilitate a family, and the COS is there to say, yes, this is a good fit, or no, it's not. And then if it's not a good fit, kids might get adopted. Unfortunately, if they're a little bit older, they might age out of the system. We definitely don't want that. But I work with teenagers. I run our teen programs, and we offer life skill programs. We have the Hangar, which has, it's a clothes closet for teens that's free. We also do supervised exchange and parenting time for kids who need to go between divorced parents and it's maybe not a safe situation, or the parent needs to have supervised visits. So CASA does a few different programs. We're the biggest one in the country because we're the only one that have all these different programs for the kids. Most of them is just the DNN team, but we are split up by our counties, so our judicial district. So we are El Paso and Teller County, and we have about 350 volunteers right now who help make all of this happen. And if you can get a positive person in a child's life who really cares about them and is only there for them, they don't have 30 other cases like the caseworker, they're not being seen by a bunch of, they don't have a bunch of people on their caseload like the GALs, then these are the people who can really change lives. So if you're looking for a really great way to change the life of somebody who could really use it in our community, we have 2 volunteer hours coming up. And I have a stack of brochures that I can leave in the back if you want to grab them. But on September 1st, which is somehow 2 days from now, we have, we have a virtual info hour on Zoom. And then September 14th, we have an in-person hour. And if you come to either of those, you do have to RSVP. I think the info hour on the 14th, we definitely have food, but it might be lunch, so you should come to that for sure. And you get to see our awesome office where everything happens. They'll talk about all of our different programs, and even if you just have a little time to give, we can find a place for you. My program, the Hangar and Teen programs, we just ask that you volunteer for 3 hours and 15 minutes once every 2 months. It's really fun, and you get to work with teenagers and help them like pick out clothes and things like that. So it's a really great agency. I worked and lived in Colorado Springs from 2010 to 2012, moved out of state for a couple years and then came back, and was just so blessed to be able to work at CASA again, because I believe so strongly in our mission and the way that we're able to change lives of these kids going forward who really, there's no fault of their own. They're just little kids trying to make it through, and then they're tossed into these terrible situations. So if you really want to make a difference, CASA is a great organization to work with. Thank you for doing the stickers. We really appreciate that, and any donations go to CASA, and we promise to use your money locally, which is really nice. CASA is a nationwide organization, but we are all set up, like I said, in the judicial districts, so every dollar stays right here. So do you have any questions? No? Okay. Thank you so much. Thanks.
So, let me see. Since this is a storytelling thing, one of the reasons that I wanted to connect with CASA is because, kids, a lot of them get stories put into them before they have a chance to get to choose them. So think about some of these kids who probably feel like there's nobody there to defend them. So I want to plant the seed in them that I can help you learn how to defend yourself, right? So that's kind of what my mission is, to help the CASA people. And here is the money from the last memoir. So there you go. So thank you all that bought stickers. And Rudy, come back up here. Come back up here because you get to read this anonymous memoir. Yeah, we're going to laugh at this one, I think. We will laugh together. So there you go. Read that, read this, and fill out these things.
Oh, God. No. Let's see. One time, I took 3 tabs of synthetic acid. Ooh. Done. Yeah, that's bad juju. I tripped for hours in a dark closet, seeing all sorts of crazy shit like a Jaguar, like Jaguar people. That was life changing. Yes, I'll concur with that. Amen to that.
All right, so we're going to take a 10-15 minute break, go get some more food, refill your drinks, and we will be back with Erin Angel. That's what made me change. See you in a few. All right, let's start making our way back. So just in case, I know there's a pen on every table. I know there is at least one anonymous paper. So whoever the brave one is in your table, let's write an anonymous memoir about what made you change. How many do we have back there? 2. Okay, bring one of them over here. So we're going to read the next one. And remember, you can like Memoirs on the gram. We are at Memoirs COS. On the Facebook, we are Memoirs COS as well. White light. I will put the white light on. She needs that for good pictures. Wonderful. Thank you for whoever bought the memoir sticker. All right. So I'm going to read this anonymous memoir. And at the top, it just says in big words, gratitude. Gratitude changed me. My whole matter of life. I need to make these things bigger so people can write clear. Yeah, come on over. I don't have my glasses on.
Gratitude changed my whole outlook on life, those around me, and how I traveled this life path. Gratitude is the greatest impact on my life. The challenge is finding gratitude in the dark times, the ultimate spiritual practice and change.
Boom, gratitude. Love that. All right, so are we ready? I'm excited for this next speaker. Although she was in my house last week and her parting words before she left was, Flip, I don't like you. And yet I invite her here on this stage. So let's please put our hands together for Erin Angel on. And the title of hers is What If I Can? All right. Powerful woman right here.
Oh, Lord. Okay. Okay, so I brought my little security blankie, even though Danielle hates them. So I don't know if you guys know any Virgos in your life, but I'm a Virgo, and we overthink everything, and so I've overthought this to the point where I left my small novel at home and brought one card, one security blanket. Does anybody know what the most severe, what has the most severe impact on public health in the United States? Anybody got any guesses? Those are all good guesses. It's child abuse. In 1994, Robert Anda with the CDC conducted a study called the ACE study, Adverse Childhood Experiences. He discovered that eradicating child abuse would decrease the rate of the overall rate of depression by more than half. It would decrease alcoholism by 2/3. It would decrease IV drug use, suicide, and domestic violence by 3/4 in the United States. These stats are taken from a book I read called The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk. This book literally is one of the ones that saved my life. So I'm going to go into, you guys, to tell my whole life story in 20 minutes would be a feat. It's not possible. So I'm going to go into the stats on some of the things that I've been through. Childhood sexual abuse, 1 in 9 girls and 1 in 53 boys. Domestic violence, 1 in 4 women, 1 in 9 men, 20 people per minute per year in the United States report domestic violence. It accounts for 15% of all violent crimes in the United States. And those are just the cases that are reported. You have to think that most, especially men and boys, do not report sexual abuse or domestic violence. So I'm going to go into, I can't tell you what made me change until I tell you a little bit of my backstory. So I was sexually abused by my first best friend from 1st to 8th grade. I didn't even know, I mean, I knew enough to keep it a secret, but I didn't know, I didn't know anything. And then I was sexually abused by my father when I was 11 and when I was 15. And to say that that will mess you up when you're a kid is a gross understatement. So I did what any good, sexually abused kid would do, and I started stripping when I was 18 years old. I left home and started dancing, and I danced for 25 years, and I met all 4, that would be 4 of my abusive husbands at the bar. My first husband, some of you will remember from my 1 Million Cups story, as the one who was the con artist and sort of pushed me into horseshoeing in a weird way. My second husband is my daughter's father. He was the most violent of all of them. To give you an idea of how little I thought of myself in that marriage, he got angry with me one night. I don't even remember why. Guys, I really don't. And he hit me so many times that night I can't remember. He kicked me in the face. Seeing stars is a real thing. Like, in the cartoons, you see somebody gets hit in the head and the stars go above their head. That's a real thing. It happens when you get kicked in the face. And he strangled me that night, and I lost our first baby. I don't know how many people in this room have ever looked death straight in the face, but that's a thing. That's a thing too. I really thought I was gonna die that night, and our baby did. And so to give you an idea of how little I thought of myself, I took him back. I pressed charges, but I took him back. And we had River, and that's the amazing thing that came out of that marriage. My third husband, I remember as the most covert of all of my abusers. He was extremely good at keeping things well under the radar so that nobody knew. Most of the time I didn't even know. But to keep things focused on the things that made me change, I'm going to focus mostly on my last husband, because that's when I started to change. When you get strangled and you can take that person back into your life, you got to know that it's not one thing. It's not one event that's going to make you rethink your life. So for me, it's been several things that have kind of been very impactful. One of them was when I was married to my fourth husband. I was in nursing school, and I was a straight A student. And my math teacher assigned a a writing assignment, a presentation in a math class. And I was like, you are dumb. Like, you're dumb. This is so stupid. And I don't remember what she assigned each half of the class a different question, right? And my question was that I had to prove that there are infinite infinities. And I, again, was like, you are so stupid. I hate you. Like, there's one to infinity and beyond. Like, there's just infinity. But in my research for this project, I realized that there are, in fact, infinite infinities. There is 0 to infinity. And then there's a whole nother infinity between 0 and 1. And there's a whole nother infinity between 1 and 2. And so on and so forth. And so there really are infinite infinities. And so I don't remember how it hit me, but it did. Eventually, I made the connection that all my life, people have been trying to convince me and showing me over and over and over again that I am nothing. I am worthless. I am a liar. I'm crazy. I'm, whatever. And so it occurred to me that, okay, there's an infinity of possibilities between 1 and 2 that they're right. Okay, I'm a piece of shit, all right. But then it occurred to me that there's whole nother infinity between 2 and 3 where maybe I'm not. Maybe there's infinite possibilities that I'm the woman that I see in the mirror rather than the woman that they say they see. So there was that. It started the ball kind of rolling. And then as I'm in this marriage to this last husband of mine, I started working out. And I went to this little apartment gym, right? And I started working out with the trainer that was working out of that very small space. And he came up to me one time right before we started our session, and he was like, "You should do a bodybuilding show." And I was like, "Yeah, no, you're dumb." and he takes out his phone and he shows me this. He's scrolling through these pictures and he shows me these girls all lined up on stage, and they're all tanned and they're wearing their $700 sparkling bikinis. And I said, "Yeah, look at that picture." I said, "You're dumb." I said, "There is not one fucking tattoo on that stage." And I was like, this is not going to work. But he kept pushing, and he kept, not pushing, I should say encouraging. And so I agreed. I agreed to do this bodybuilding show. And hands down, it was one of the most effective and best things I have done for myself in my life. Because it was in training for that show that I showed myself that I could be dedicated to something, that I could keep a promise to myself, even if it was something as small and minute as getting on stage in a bikini. I could do this thing. So I did it, and I did well in the show, and I was very, very proud of myself. And after the show, though, I had known for a long time that hypothyroid runs in my family, and I had known for like 3 or 4 years that I was off. I just felt off, and I didn't know why, and I kept going to the doctor, and I kept getting blood drawn, and I was like, what is wrong with me? And they were all like, your blood's fine, you're fine, don't stop it, And finally, I went to see a naturopath doctor, and she drew my blood again and did the right tests. And when she called me into her office to give me the results, she sat me down on the couch. She was like, "You need to sit down." And I was like, Jesus, what am I, terminal or something? And and Hashimoto's, she diagnosed me with Hashimoto's. And if you guys don't know what that is, it's basically the autoimmune version of hypothyroidism. So she sits me down and she tells me this, and it wasn't that I have Hashimoto's, it was what she said. She said, I believe in all my heart that so many women have thyroid issues because we're silenced. And everything that we want to say gets stuck right here and makes us sick later in life. And to say that I cried in that moment is an understatement. I bawled on her couch. I must have gone through a whole thing of Kleenex in that moment. And it was then that it was with that diagnosis and with what she said about it, it just resonated with me. And I realized that I had kept silent and I had wanted to scream so many times in my life. And I had wanted to say, you're wrong, or anything, and I never could. So it was those combination of things that started me down a different road. One where I tell my story now because the shame of all of the things that I have been through was never mine to carry. It's theirs. And so I have nothing to be ashamed of. I'll stand up here and tell you all you want to know because the shame of it isn't mine. And in telling my stories, I've healed a lot. So what made me change? A whole bunch of things that kind of lined up, and I finally started walking down my own path where I am the woman that I see and not the woman that they said they saw. So. No, I'm good.
Please give her more. She deserves more. And that was only a part of her story, because I know a little bit more of her story than that, and there's more. So go up to her, go talk to her in the break, and find out more about what made her believe that she can. And now you are coulding, right? You're living your life like you could, right? So thank you, Erin. Angel, you are an angel. So we are going to take another 10, 15-minute break, and you are going to read the next anonymous memoir when we get back. And until then, let's refill drinks, let's hug each other, and keep having fun. All right, let's get this party started. I hope all of you have been enjoying the photo booth back there. Don't forget to get some pictures of yourself. I want to see some people with the taco hat on, the taco hat. Erin, Angel, we have an anonymous memoir to read. So let's see what this person has to say.
Okay. Always just a wine drinker, I wondered why grown-ups drink cocktails. So spent a year trying as many cocktails as I could. Finally settled on margaritas. Hard to beat.
All right. So
Okay.
I guess their change is they tried a bunch of alcohol, and tequila's the best. I agree. And I definitely have some memoirs about tequila, but let me tell you, it was never the tequila's fault. So you see these on your table. These are the QR codes to vote for 3Es as the best comedy club on csindie.com. So they made it simple. Just picture your phone or put the camera on your phone onto this thing and just vote 3Es as the best place ever. Ever. All right, so now, with that said, we're going to welcome our last speaker of the evening, or last storyteller of the evening, and it is the curator of this space here. And let me welcome, with the title of his talk is To the Edge and Back. Please welcome Eric Phillips.
I've never been on this side. Wow. I'm going to sit down because I'm kind of broke right now. Okay. Okay. I speak for a living, and this is like crazy. Okay, Eric Phillips, that's my name. We're going to start this journey before I was born, okay? Grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. Born to a mom that was beautiful, beautiful woman, hazel eyes, had all the guys. And she met my dad. My dad was, what she found out when I was born, he was married already, right? So that kind of broke her heart. And when I came, she didn't want me. So she left me at the hospital, and my grandma said, if you leave that boy at the hospital, you know how grandmas are, you know, we're going to have a problem. So I was born February 11th in the cold of Cleveland with no clothes. They had to get me some clothes, you know, because my mom didn't want me because of my dad. From that, she had a nervous breakdown and jumped out the bathroom window with me. You know, from then on, she wasn't the same. I had an older brother that was he kind of ran away. He took his wagon in Cleveland, and really, truly, it was a wagon, and packed it up and left. So I was left there with my mom. So she didn't take care of me. We didn't eat. She didn't feed me. She didn't clothe me. I just kind of grew up. I remember having wax beans, and I hate wax beans to this day, right? Because that was it. It was just wax beans, no salt, no pepper, just wax beans. And so at the time when I turned 6, I had to have open heart surgery. I had a murmur. So my grandma said, hey, he has to have this surgery, and she wasn't going to let it happen. So she sent the people from the city out to get me, and I didn't know what was going on. They was just, in a black neighborhood, 2 white people come get you. It's like, oh, what's going on? Right? And I'm not understanding. So she said, go change your clothes, put on some clothes. And they took me away, and I'll never forget. I was walking down the hallway, and it was like I was going to jail because one had one hand, the other one had the other hand. And I'm looking back at my mom like, where am I going, right? And so I had to go downtown, stay with kids, not because I was a bad kid, just because there was no place else to go. I had to have this operation. So during that time frame, they found foster parents for me. And the foster, they took me over to the people's house before surgery, and I got to, meet them. But I'm a little kid. I'm not understanding, right, what's going on. So I have the operation. My grandma stays involved the whole time because I'm her grandson. This is her daughter. And I have the operation, the surgery. I'm telling the doctors, now I'm a little kid. This is how it was. Before they took me into the operating room, I'm telling the doctors, I'm not going to sleep. You could do whatever you want to do. I'm not going to sleep, right? You can poke me, whatever. I'm not going to sleep. Went in the operating room. He put the mask on. That was it, right? Put the oxygen on. It's over, right? So one of the hardest things I had to do was wake up, and it was like my whole body was aching because this was a serious surgery. And but I recovered, and I was the guy, the kid in the hospital, rolling down the hallways to see the babies. I wanted to see the babies in the incubator, so I'm rolling, right? They like, what are you doing? I'm just, I'm all in the hospital. When I got ready to leave, they missed me. It's like, man, you were good. You were fun here. So I went to the foster parents' house, and the social workers at the time would take you out and drive you around like interrogation and ask you, well, how's it going? What do you think? I'm like, I don't know. I just want to go live with my grandmother. Well, do you like it here? I don't know. I just want to go live with my grandmother, right? And I would say that, and I stayed with these parents, these foster parents, which at the time they really didn't care about they got paid to keep you, right? So I was there, and she had a daughter that she adopted from her sister. And of course, we didn't get along. But she had to, I had to sleep in the basement. And again, I'm a kid. I slept in the basement. And, it's dark down there. I don't know what's going on. So I went to bed. So I'll get punished for that, And I just couldn't understand what was going on. At the time, this is kind of date me a little bit older. Bell bottoms was out, right? And I had to go to school in straight leg pants. I'm like, what's up with this? Ain't right. Straight leg pants. So, I would call my grandma and be like, hey, can I get some bell bottoms? I just, and I couldn't, when I went to school, I'm in elementary. I couldn't, who's your parents? I couldn't, I couldn't say. I knew who my mom was, but I never knew who my dad was. I never had an opportunity to meet him because when he came to the hospital when I was born, I go back a little bit, my grandma's sister that I really didn't like told him, well, haven't you done enough already? And he left. Now, okay, you don't leave for that, but he left, okay. So I stayed in a foster parent's house. You couldn't ask for anything to eat. You couldn't ask for anything. They adopted another, not adopted, but they had another kid come in, a young man, and I would talk to him about going home. He would talk to me about going home. And then they brought in a little girl, right? She was maybe 1 or 2. And her parents, I believe, were on drugs or something. And they treated this little girl so bad, right? And I said to myself, I hope you don't get any more kids, right? Because I felt bad. I always went under, my spot was, they used to have these high dining room tables. I would just go sit under there and just think, right? And when you're that young, you're thinking about so many different things. You're thinking about so many different things. Why am I here? Who are these people? I don't like them. And their last name was Bobo. Thank goodness they didn't adopt me, like Eric Bobo. So Eric Bobo. So you can't make this up. So after a while, I was an impatient kid. Went through the bullying stuff there. Always went home to see I would go some weekends to see my cousins that lived in the city with my grandmother. And it was always bad to have to come back, when it was time for me to leave on Sunday. But when they said they were coming, we lived on a street that was a big hill. I would walk up to the street, look around, come back down. Walk up to the corner of the street, look around, waiting for them to come. Because I was like, I got to go see my family, right? So after a while, my grandmother finally had the opportunity to adopt me. Now, you would think that would be cool, but my cousins lived upstairs, my uncle and his kids. And they were like, well, why is she adopting you, right? Why is grandma adopting you? But I really didn't care because I was going to do what I was going to do anyway, right? So when I had the surgery, the doctor said, well, he can't do anything strenuous. He can't, no sports, he has to, told my grandma this, he has to just, can't do anything. So I said, I'm doing everything, right? So I played football, I played baseball. I wanted to play the saxophone, but my grandma was like, no. So I had to play the flute, right? I wasn't good at that, but she wouldn't let me do anything else besides that. So, I had to fit in different places, okay, with different things. And again, my mind is always wondering, how am I going to get this done? What am I going to do? So as I grew up, I had to work. right? Because my grandmother couldn't take care of me. So everything I wanted, I had to find a way to do it. Now, it wasn't always the legal way to do it, okay? I'm just saying, but I had to figure out how to get things done, okay? As I was growing up, you know, I'm learning, you know, my area was mostly black area in Cleveland. My uncle was a organized crime guy. I'm not gonna say a drug dealer because it was bigger than that, right? And I shouldn't have said my uncle because nobody's recording here. Oh, are we, for real? Okay. I'll take that back. No. Okay. But he was into some things, and he's passed away. He's passed away now, but I started getting into things as well. So, but when I say from the edge and back, right? So I would only do things when things happened to me. So somebody stole my car, right? My very first car. It was a I'm not going to tell you something, Buick Regal. Okay? Okay. So, and I was working at a grocery store in the evening, and it was Friday night, and I'm thinking I'm getting ready to go somewhere, and I step outside, and it was a van parked next to my car. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm bringing in carts. I'm at the grocery store. And I come back out, and my car is gone. I'm like, I cried. I went and called the police and blah, blah, but that was my first car, right? Now, I got it back, but it had no tires on it. It was in the pound, you know, and I said, okay. So a friend of mine, quote, said, hey, man, let's go steal some cars. I said, well, I'm only stealing the car that I got, because I'm going to take the parts off that and put it on my car, right? So we went out stealing cars. Got my car hooked up, everything on it. Different color trunk, though, but that's okay. Got it hooked up, and I said, okay, I'm done, right? To the edge and back. He said, okay, well, I'm still going out to steal cars. Now, what I didn't know was he was the one that stole my car. Okay? So I guess he was trying to redeem himself by saying, let's go steal some cars, right? So he went to jail. Kept stealing cars. I quit, right? And it was always something in my mind that said, when you do something, just stop at some point, right? You don't have to keep going, right? So I got into drugs, okay? Not buying drugs, and this was the time that crack was. Now, I will tell you as well, I always worked, okay? I opened up a dry cleaning business at 20. I thought it was, I thought I was doing something, but that's another story. But I sold drugs, but I wasn't a corner guy. I wasn't a guy on a corner. I would have clients, and that doesn't make it any better. But that's what I would do. So I stopped when I saw a guy come over to my uncle's house, and I knew him, an older gentleman, and I never saw this before. My uncle was into heroin and other stuff, and he shot up, and I was like, oh, how did he do that, right? I mean, he was shooting it, and he looked, and he offered my uncle his whole paycheck, right, for another hit. Then he offered him his car keys for another hit. And I said, okay, I'm done. I can't do this. This is really, really destroying people, right? And I couldn't do it anymore. So I decided to go to the military. After stealing cars, after doing my little hustles, and didn't want to go. That wasn't my cup of tea, military, wasn't it? But let me digress just a little bit. As I was staying with my grandmother, my mom would have episodes. She poured gasoline all around the house, everywhere, and all it took was one light to light up the house. She was a bag lady. She would, winter cold in the summer. Kids would tease her. I would have to go beat them up because that was my mother, right? Regardless, that's my mom, right? So got in a fight over that. My brother was a heavy boy, just fat. He was fat, okay? And they would tease him, so I would have to go protect him too, right? I would go after them too. But, growing up is, again, as a young person, you're thinking about so many things. My mind never stopped. It never stopped. Thinking about where I was at, who I was with, who are these people. So as I got older, I learned that I didn't trust anybody, right? I didn't trust or couldn't trust. I got married the first time. I couldn't trust. I didn't know what I was doing. So I overcompensated by trying to do everything. And that didn't work, right? But as I got older, I learned that. So went to the military, and I enjoyed it. It was good. I wasn't scared of too much of anything, so I went different places. So I was home on leave, and I was talking to my wife at the time, her mom. We was looking at TV at one of those talk shows. It was a lady. She's kind of heavy. Ricky Lake, right? And there you go. And we were they were talking about finding parents. So I told her, I said to my ex-wife's mom, hey, I'm going to find my dad one day, right? Because we all grew up in Cleveland. She was from Cleveland as well. She said, well, what's your dad's name? I said, Frank. His name was Frank something. Sorry. And so, but what's interesting, not Frank, that Frank. But what was interesting about that, as I grew up, I never thought about that. I never thought about who was my dad, who was he. I never thought about it. I played Pop Warner football. It was a award ceremony. I went myself. I walked to the award ceremony. I didn't get the award that I thought I was going to get, so I was a little pissed off. But I did everything myself because grandmas can't do all that, right? And so I was talking to her, and she said, well, I knew him, right? My dad. I think I knew him. And so she called her sister. Come to find out, he died like a week before I got home, right? No. I looked at it like this. I didn't want, I wasn't trying to say, hey, where you been, blah, blah. I just want to know who he was. That's it. I didn't need you all this time, so I really didn't, and I wasn't angry, but I really wasn't interested in knowing, like, too much about him. But I met his sister, his kids. We talked. We stay in touch to this day. Interesting guy. In a way, I was someone like him. When he died, on his obituary, his nickname was Kind Loving, right? Because he was just a nice dude to everybody. He just didn't know how to tell the truth, right? That was, yeah. So, and so he was a sharp guy. Always took care of his kids, blah, blah. So a lot of things were kind of alike. Went to the military and, like I said, got in touch with them and went to the military, enjoyed what I was doing, but I had no boundaries. We went to, I was here at Fort Carson. We went to any place they wanted to go. I'm going, right? I'm going. And I had my daughter, so I had to kind of peel that back a little bit. But my whole life, it was always, anything that I did, it was, okay, do it for a minute, then stop. And I'm not a big religious person, but I know somebody was paying attention to what I was doing. Could have got caught stealing the car. Plenty of times I'm running around because the police coming, hiding up on the cars. Could have got caught in I can't tell you this, but I would tell you that my uncle used to call me a white-collar criminal. Okay, everybody know what a white-collar criminal is? That's not good. I never got my hands dirty. I just kind of, okay, don't judge me. But that's growing up in Cleveland, in a city that you had to find your way, right? So I take time and pay attention to my sons, my daughter, for the schizophrenia thing, right? Because you never know, and the doctors don't know. They have ages that it hits, but they don't know, right? I went and got my mom. I got out of the military because, and again, somebody's looking out for me. My mom, I went home to put her in an apartment, and she couldn't stay there. She had food everywhere, bugs everywhere, and that's how she lived most of the time when I was growing up. Even though I tried to go get her, she wouldn't come, but it was always a terrible place to live. But she was proud enough not to take assistance, okay? But I would go home and say, hey, come with me. No. Because back then, if you're schizophrenic, unless somebody gets you in for medication, you're not going because you're okay, right? You think you're okay. And I never could have a real conversation because she would always go back to something else, to things that, you were born in England or your dad's this. So I really could never have a conversation. But she would only listen to me because my older brother didn't care. She's faking. He was gone. He didn't care. So, again, my whole deal was trying to make sure that she was okay, even when I wasn't around. So a lot of times, when I finally went to get her, I brought her to Colorado, right? They called me, they said, hey, you got to come get your mom, or your mom we're putting her out, we're evicting her from this apartment that I put her in because she's not keeping it clean. So, what do you want to do? I said, send her to me. And they're like, really? Yeah, well, we don't get that request often. No, it's my mom, send her to me, right? So that when she got here, they had her on so many drugs, she was like a zombie. And so I had to get her here, found a little place. I ended up having to put her in a nursing home because she had to get rid of all this stuff. And I was the person that she didn't want ended up taking care of her. But that never fazed me. And again, I don't know where I was at as a kid. I don't know where my mind was at as a kid because it was, if I made a mistake, I had to deal with it. If I did something good, I had to deal with it. It wasn't any, hey, can you help me with this? Hey, can I talk to you about this? Hey, it wasn't any of that. No mentors, nothing. I had to figure it out. And again, it had to be someone looking over me to help me do that, okay? Because I don't know how I figured it out. But my mom stayed here for a while. In the meantime, me and my brother, we didn't get along. My brother was older. He didn't treat me, even though I protected him, he didn't treat me like a brother. He had foster brothers and sisters, right? Which he, I felt, took care of more than he took care of me, his own brother. So we all lived together for a little while, my oldest brother. He was more rebellious, fighting, getting beat up, fighting some more than I was. So when we got together, and he left the foster parents and came back to live with my grandmother for a little while, I guess I was the cool guy, right? He's like, hey, what's that girl's name? That's what you call it, right? I was the guy that knew everybody. And I'm like, oh, she don't look that good. Why you want to talk to her? Anyway, as a brother, right? She wasn't that good looking. But he never, he didn't teach me how to drive. He didn't teach me how to do anything, right? So he had and this is going to date me a little bit too. He had an 8-track, okay? And this 8-track I wanted. I was like, man, let me buy this from you. I had a job, let me buy this from you. And he ended up giving it away to his foster brother. And that kind of bothered me. But when I moved my mom here, we hadn't been talking. He passed away, and he didn't even have my mother's name on his obituary. And I called him on that. Well, I didn't call him because he was gone. But when I found out about that, I'm like, even to the end, you didn't, And what was funny about that, we were just about to meet like before that, but he had a massive heart attack, and that was it, right? But then again, I have to figure out, how do I tell my mom this? Okay. How do I tell her that her son just passed away? Then my grandmother passed away. How do I tell my mom, your mom just passed away? But I did that, took her to the funeral, and it was okay. But I guess when we talk about to the edge and back, it was so many things that I did, stealing cars, drugs, things that I can't mention because you're recording. Yeah. But I didn't. My middle name is Emmanuel. I don't know if you have religious people out here that, I heard this from one of my sergeant majors when I was in the military, because he was a real religious guy. And the first thing he told me is like, Phillips, why you got that earring in your ear? And I was a kind of a smart ass. I was like, well, because the country of Africa has earrings in their ears and nose and wherever, right? And he didn't like that. But and then he said, your middle name is Emmanuel. You know what you're supposed to be doing? I said, no. He said, do you know what that name means? And I said, no. And he told me. And that kind of stuck with me because I really didn't understand what that meant. Now, again, I'm not saying that guided me or that helped me, but I know that kept me from going, something or someone kept me from going over the edge. And I don't know what it was, but I'm still here. So I do a lot of giving. I do a lot of, I love to give people opportunity to do things, and maybe because that I didn't have it, or maybe because no one gave me that opportunity. But I've done a lot of things in this city. I've done a lot of things in every city that I went to while I served in the military. So, and I don't do it for accolades. I mean, I've never had this conversation to people. It's always been one-on-one, right? I'm telling them about me. They're talking about themselves, and I've never done it like this. So I was kind of hesitant to talk about this, but that's kind of my life in a nutshell. Business-wise, when I was 7, I said I wanted to own a shopping mall, okay? I wanted a mall, not a store. I wanted the mall. I want to own a mall, and I want to get married, right? And I had a actress on TV that I wanted to marry. I'm not going to tell you the name because you'd be like, damn, you old. Anyway. And that was because you had to have something to keep you going. You know what I mean? About those foster parents. I came back from the military, and the father, he used to work at Chrysler, and he would give us $1, you know. Here's $1 for whatever, right? But when he whooped you, he would make you get on your knees and whoop you with a belt or whatever, right? Not good people. But when I went back, she was the only one there, right? The only one there. And I went to the house. I said, you remember me? She's like, yeah, come on in, you know. And we're sitting there talking, and it's just her. The daughter's gone. And I said, did you get any more kids after the little girl's name was Marquita, right? And she said, no. And to myself, I'm saying, good, right? I'm glad you didn't. But, you know, she's like, well, can you help me out with some money? Can you do this? I'm like, no, I can't. I didn't have it in my heart. And I left. And maybe that was bad, but I just didn't, I didn't have it in my heart, right? So I never went back. I just wanted to really see what had happened and where they were for my own curiosity. So, but yeah, so now I'm here. You know the story of this place. Been everywhere in the military, Kosovo, Bosnia. And really, again, when I talk to people about who I am, they wonder, well, how'd you get here? Because I had every opportunity not to be here. I could have sold drugs. I could have been a criminal. I could have been, anything that wouldn't have been good for me. But for some reason, I always took the other route. Maybe at the last minute, but I took the other route. So that's a little bit about me. Don't let it get outside his room. And is that my 20 minutes, or did I go over? That's good? Okay. That's Eric Emmanuel Phillips. Thank you.
Come on, guys, let's give Eric a big hand. Thank you very much, Eric. Don't go too far. You got to tell people who's coming up next. Because at 3 E's to come and make people laugh.
Okay. Next week we have a Denver comedian, and I can't remember his name for the sake. Anthony Crawford. That's terrible. But he's going to be great. He's a really funny dude. He's going to be here for 2 shows, one on Friday and one on Saturday. Because it's the holiday, we only cut it down to 2 shows. The next week after that is Tommy Davidson. He came before, but he didn't get the love he deserved, so we brought him back. So come back and this guy, in living color, you guys, okay. Come back and check him out. He's gonna be crazy funny. And down the road we have so many other people coming back. Tell people about comedy. You only live once. Come laugh and enjoy some shows. Okay, $20. That's it. Well, not all of them, but some of them.
Don't go too far yet. Erin, Rudy, let's get up here. But now, are we ready for next month's theme? All right, so next month's theme has to do with something that Confucius said. And I feel so, it's like Confucius say. So Confucius said this: there is one word which may serve as a rule of practice for all of one's life, and that word is, and the theme for next month is, reciprocity. So Monday, September 27th, 6:30 a.m. right here on this stage at 3 E's. So we're going to take a picture here. Yes. Okay, yeah, Nerd Night. Nerd Night is the 3rd Wednesday of every month. You can go to Nerd Night COS to get more information on that. And yeah, we're going to take a picture here, and then we're going to transfer from here to back there, and then we're going to take a picture at the photo booth. So thank you guys very much for coming to Memoirs, True Stories, Unfiltered. We will be back Monday, September 27th. If you are interested in speaking, please come connect with me, and we'll get you on the stage. So thank you, and enjoy the rest of your evening.